Hello and welcome to another video. Today I decided to show you something that I did a few weeks ago. I tried to do something a little different and draw some higher quality icons on a background that was darker, and this would force me to do icons without outlines, to draw them with the silhouettes and the shapes rather than the outlines, and which is something I've never been good at, and this way it kind of forced me to do it. So it was a very good experience, and it was a way to test myself going forward. The idea was just to draw, a set of 5 or 6 things that every RPG would use, and if I liked what it looks like and the direction it was going in, then I might go further with it. And to be honest, I was really happy with how some of these turned out. Once I was happy with the shape of this sword, it would be an interesting process going forward of trying to make the icons all kind of match and appear like they were a part of the same set. So the next thing, of course, once you've got a sword, I guess you need a shield. And I planned originally just to draw it all just complete wooden shield. I wasn't sure quite how I'd do that, or how big I wanted the rim to be, or how it would look. After a while, it kind of became apparent to me that even just drawing the wooden outline on the rim, it was not very nice. It felt like just a wooden plate, mostly because I hadn't done the inside of the shield yet, but it just felt like it lacked a lot of colour. It lacked interest. There was not enough contrast. It wasn't interesting to look at. And so I decided to throw that idea out and go with a steel rim and make it a bit thinner and make it nice and sleek. And it just straight away started to add a little bit of interest and a little bit of contrast to the icon, really make it stand out and have something that kind of was visually more pleasing. Once it came to drawing the wood grains and the planks on the inside, I messed around with a few different colours to try and figure out what would look nice and what would match the sword a little bit. And I wanted to kind of get at some texture because it still looked flat, but every time I was drawing anything on the wood itself, it just kind of made it look messy in other examples that I've drawn over the years. So I used the grain, or the in between the planks, and put some different details in there, and that gave this real implied feeling of texture of the wood without making the whole piece look messy. I was really happy with that. Of course, what RPG icon set would be complete without some kind of health potion? This neat little trick of just deleting a pixel on the inside and then filling it with a darker version of the colour of the potion you're using later on. I learnt that on pretty early in my pixel art journey, and I've used it ever since. It's kind of handy. I'm working with a very bright saturated red at the moment. I'll realise that later that it's taking away from everything. It's really hard to draw the rest of the piece with that sticking in your eyes. But later on I'll find some colours that more match the rest of the icons and are a lot less saturated and more interesting to look at, I reckon, as well. And there it is. Working with the different highlights and trying to make it look kind of round and give it some interest. I messed around with like bubbles and highlights in different spots, but in the end it just felt messy and complicated or pixelated. In the end, I'll just end up going with a single just shine down the quarter mark of the left hand side of the potion, and that was enough. always zooming in and out to try and see what it looks like at different percentages, 100%, 200%. I did have the preview there. That was something I needed to get used to looking at because I kept on zooming in and out and not realizing that the 100% was right there. But you live and learn, I guess. I should learn to draw with the preview open more often. Next, I thought, well, you need some kind of food stuff, and some button mushrooms would be nice and easy to draw. Well, they are nice and small and easy to draw, but to give them texture was more difficult. In the end, rather than drawing texture or using shadows, I actually used different colors with different saturations to give it texture, and it works really well. It's something I haven't really done much of, but I feel like it's something I've learned that I can certainly use in the future. You see, I always go back to other pieces, have a look, see how they're matching, thinking maybe there's something I missed when I drew it earlier, and trying to make everything look, clean and crisp and match everything else. Using my usual cheating trick of using a circle to draw a hook staff. It's a good way to start a curve, and then you can go from there. You've just got a base of where the hook will be, and then you thicken it and play around with it till it looks great. But just drawing it from scratch is a lot of a harder process. Making the staff look like a wooden textured staff and not just like a really shiny polished staff was interesting. I tried different kinds of shadows and highlights, and in the end I went with a different color of a similar brown and just left highlights out in certain areas, and that worked really well, creating some kind of texture, because you don't really notice the shadows so much, but from a distance it does look more like a wood grain. The next thing, of course, a magic book. I was going to do usual flat or lying down. I felt that wasn't interesting enough, and I wanted to really test myself with these icons. So I went with something with a little bit more perspective, so a book like open facing you. As you can see, I'm just like kind of blocking out different colors and figuring out how I want to make the pages feel like more than just 2 pages in a book without drawing lines in, and how I'm going to make the pages feel curved as well is going to be difficult. But the more I draw this, the more I realise that it just looks like it's the wrong perspective. So you've got the top there that like points outwards towards you, but the bottom is flat. So if your head is on the table alongside the book, this would be, I guess, the right perspective. But that's not the perspective I was trying to draw. I was trying to draw a perspective where you're looking at the book from the middle of the book. And so you need to bring the corners down to kind of match the top. And that kind of required a lot more redrawing of the pages and figuring out how that would look. But in the end, it was a really rewarding experience, coming up with something that you feel a lot happier with. It just felt polished, like a really, really nice icon with a unique perspective. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. If you want to check me out on the socials, I've got those in the description below. And if you want to check me out drawing this live, I drew these live on Twitch, and I'm live about 3 times a week. Join Discord and you'll know when I'm live. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you found it entertaining or helpful in any way. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, stay safe, and I'll see you then.